So I wanted to pop in here and tell you a story because personally I love a good story, but I also know that during these times sometimes we don't want to read an email. Sometimes we want to watch a video. And sometimes things land more when we see it directly in front of us. So today is about Stella and Nancy. You might be wondering, who the F is Stella? Or you might be kindly saying, what does she mean when she talks about Nancy? That's how Nancy would say it versus how Stella would say it. And we're not talking about multiple personality, but I'm talking about the parts of us that are not true, that are not authentic, that might have been learned, that might be keeping us safe, or that might be trying to find a new way, but not who we truly are inside. Those parts of us that are trying to get it right, or those parts of us that are trying to do the opposite of the way we've always done it because we're trying not to be in the pattern. We're trying to somehow find a way to get right in the middle to who we really are. So I wanted to share a story of one way we can use to work through these different parts of ourselves to try to hear what's true and come back home. So, I want to share about me because Amanda is somewhere between Stella and Nancy. Sometimes Nancy comes out to play, and then when Nancy's playing too much, Stella comes out. But neither one of those are the true me. The true me is someone who is playful, who is joyful, but who also takes the time to do the things she loves, to get things done, to do it all while having fun. Who's like got both her masculine and feminine working together. Who creates structure. Who's grounded. Who's also pretty magical and spiritual. And once again, fun. Who can let go and let loose, but know when she needs to get stuff done. And who just gets to be herself and not be in her mind and operating from a pattern or operating from a wound, but she is true to who she is and she listens to her heart and she taps into her soul and she knows what her inner voice is. She's discerning. She's trusting. She's also trustworthy. She knows how to let people in. She also knows when it's time to hear her own voice and speak her truth rather than listening to the truth of everyone around her. Now, I'm going to tell you about the other parts of me that also exist. That I want to say are really old, but the truth is that they still pop up. Especially during times of change, especially when there's uncertainty, especially when there's leaping into something totally new, that these old parts want to pop up, that they come up. Because they try to keep me safe. They try to protect me from what might have happened in the past, even though it's not here anymore. So I'm going to let you know what these two parts are. And I'm going to let you know how they talk, because they talk very differently. And sometimes, when we're at war within ourselves, different parts of us, we need to give them a voice. We need to let them be witnessed. We need to let them be heard. Because when we hear someone, they feel seen, they feel safe. That's how we heal. Not by pushing it away, not by continuing to have the fight, but by giving them a voice and letting them be witnessed. So I'm going to show you what these parts are of me and what happens. So most of Nancy comes from the way I learned growing up. How I felt and who I felt I had to be to feel safe. This also mostly came from being a really sensitive child who can tune into how other people are feeling and felt that I needed to be who they needed me to be in order to be safe. But that did not mean that Amanda got to be here. That meant that someone else got constructed in order to feel like I could fit. But Amanda's belonging. Nancy is fitting. So who Nancy is? She's really sweet. She's really kind. She often feels like she needs to do what everybody else wants her to do in order to feel safe. She's like really, really, really nice. Like so nice, so sweet, so kind. She always has to be happy. She always has to have it all together. She always has to get it right. There's no space for getting it wrong. There's no space for messiness. There is just, how do I get this right? If there's something that isn't working, how do I find the next best thing that's going to help me fix it? That's going to help me learn how to be perfect. Perfection, perfection, perfection. It's all really important to Nancy. And there's also this part of Nancy that's like frustrated. She's frustrated with herself. She gets frustrated with other people. She expects everybody to do it the right way. The right way. Nancy feels like there's a right and a wrong. Nancy feels like she's got to get it right. Right, right, right. Well, there's more to Nancy, but these are pretty important. Nancy also feels like she needs to perform because she's got to get it right. Like, there is no room for her to mess up here because that's not safe to Nancy. Nancy's got to get this. Nancy's got to perform. People need to like Nancy for Nancy to feel safe and be okay. Now, learning about these parts of Amanda, which are really Nancy, I developed this other side because it felt the opposite of the rules, which is very something Nancy likes. The opposite of a right. The opposite of rigid. And that's Stella. Stella over here is like, I do what the F I want. Not going to swear in case there's children nearby, but she would swear. She'd like throw F-bomb right, left, and center and be like, I do what I want. There are no rules. I don't need to do it like everybody else. I'm going to do it like I want to do it. And I can just not do the things that people say that we need to do. I get to go and play. I get to make choices and leap whenever I want, and it feels good. And I don't want to stay where these people are following the rules. I want to leave. I want to do it my way. And I'm not going to listen to anybody else because I want to trust myself and do it the way that I want to do. But this Stella doesn't also feel like she can learn from others. She is like pretty stuck in her way, but it's not really her way because it's the opposite of the way that Nancy would do it. It's just doing the opposite of Nancy. But neither of those are Amanda. Because they're just patterns. One is the old pattern, and the other is the opposite of that. And somewhere in the middle is the truth. And that's where trust is. That's where this is who I am. It's not who I feel I need to be. It's not who I feel I need to be to fit. And it's not who I feel I need to be to not be that who just follows rules and has patterns and feels like she needs to be safe and fit in or do what other people want her to do or will approve of or will give her permission to in order to feel like she can be herself. Because that's not herself. Neither is this. But where those two merge and make friends and both have a voice and get to feel heard and no longer are fighting one another, that's where Amanda lives. That's where her truth lies. And even just doing that exercise lets you hear yourself. Because maybe you're having troubles making a decision in your life. Maybe you're having a difficult time hearing your true voice because you hear this one part of you that's all about the rules and the shoulds and the pleasing people and the doing the right thing. But then you have another side that's like, F this BS. I don't have to listen to what anybody says. When you give them a voice, they get to feel heard. There's spaciousness. There's witnessing. Then they no longer need to fight to get your attention. And all that's left is you, is your truth, is your own voice. And they don't need to fight so hard to get your attention. And the patterns don't need to be made wrong, because that's what Nancy likes, to make the patterns wrong. They can just be loved. Because all that those things want is your love and attention. Just like a child having a tantrum. They just want your love and attention. So, is there something coming up for you where you're feeling like there's a war inside that are different parts of you? Maybe it's a part that wants to let a certain relationship in. Maybe it's a part that wants to make a change in your career. But there's a part of you that you're like, that's the part that's trying to keep me safe. And then there's another part that's like, I don't fully trust that part because it's so opposite to what this other part feels that I can't tell what my truth is and what would be really loving for me. So I want you to try that exercise. Give both parts a voice. Give the both parts a personality. What are their characteristics? What is the name that makes sense for them? And you know what? Like Stella to me is like Stella got a groove back. And I always thought that like this time in my life where I was like, well, I'm going to reject those things and I'm going to leave these places because this is Amanda. Well, that was Stella getting her groove back. But then Amanda needed to find what her real groove was after that because there were parts of Stella that really weren't her. And the truth is Nancy isn't her either. But that allowed me to find who I am while also not making it wrong if Stella or Nancy come back up. Because those parts might still want to, especially when there's change. But we get to give them a voice so that we can hear Amanda loud and clear. So who are your people who come in, those personalities who want to have a voice and who are fighting with you inside when something big is happening? Hit reply and let me know. Let me know if you did this exercise. Let me know how you felt after, because that's the part I care about. It doesn't matter about giving these personalities and names, but I want you to feel the clarity that comes through once the parts of you have felt heard and seen and no longer need to fight with you. So let me know 3 things. What is each part? What is their name? What's that part of their personality? What is it trying to tell you, or what is it trying to protect you from? And then the 3rd thing is, after you've let them have a voice and just be witnessed, what's the true you and what's your truth that came through? So, thank you for tuning in, for giving a safe space to all parts of me that really allowed the true me to come through, and for hearing this and knowing what truth in you wants to come through, because that's the purpose of this. How do you find your groove and get it back, but let it be the true you? I can't wait to meet the true you, and I can't wait to hear about the parts of you too that also want love and acceptance, because we're going to love and accept those parts too. I'll also be like, hey, who's underneath that? It's nice to meet you.